Good morning, everybody. All right, guys. So, if you're just tuning into this, this is recorded live, and I put live at the end of my little title capture there. Title capture, title, just title. We'll just go with title. I will answer questions at the very end, but I am going to go over what I intended on talking about, which is my rods, reels, lines, and why. I get a lot of questions, and depending on your area, so I'm going to go over something real quick. I live in Northern California, so I may not be fishing the exact same type of water as you. So I want to get that out of the way real quick. I fish clean water, dirty water, shallow water, deep water. I fish a large variety of things. So let's say if you only fish dirty water, only some of this is going to apply to you, but this is really still a lot of good information for you to hang on to. I just wanted to do a chill format out back, no high production stuff. I'm just sit here in my hot dog t-shirt, my sticks cap, and we'll just go over stuff. So first of all, if you guys are just watching this and you don't know, I developed a rod company called Sticks with a couple of partners, and my whole basis of this was design 6 rods that are super multi-purpose that can do a large variety of stuff that are high-end. Initially, I was designing these rods for me, what I wanted, and then I realized how great they were for everybody else. Then I decided to almost go and make my family go broke developing this rod company. But needless to say, a few years went by. I got everything the exact way I wanted it, and now they're available at stixfishing.com, sticksfishing.com. So let me go over my rods, my reels, and my lines and why now. So in the sticks lineup, there's a number 1 being the lightest and number 6 being the heaviest. The first 2 are spinning rods. So I'm going to pick it up. The lightest rod I ever use is the finesse stick. That is, you can probably see it right there, the 7'6" medium light, moderate fast taper. All right, really limber rod. This is 6-pound P-line tactical fluorocarbon. I've been working with P-line for years. And I'll explain why you don't need to even buy my rods. I'm not trying to sell you on that. It's a good idea if you do, because trust me, I put a hell of a lot of time and effort into these. But either way, if you have your own setup, you can kind of try to match it to what I'm going over today if you can't afford to go buying other stuff. And you'll understand why, in the end, why I explain I'm going over all this. So you can take the gear you currently have and try to mimic what I'm doing, and it'll make you way more efficient on the water, and you'll understand why. So this is 6-pound on my lightest setup. And the reason why I use 6 is you can throw Ned rigs on there, light drop shots, tiny jerk baits, spy baits, very well on this setup. A 7'6" medium light. If you already have a 7'3" or a 7'4" at home, you can make it work, but I designed this rod to be insanely versatile. Weightless trick worms. You can cast nearly 100 feet on 6-pound fluorocarbon. This reel right here, this is just a Revo X reel, nothing high-end. I'm not with Abu Garcia at all, so don't even worry about that. I just bought it because they work well. They have a little larger arbor. The line pickup's nice, very smooth drag, and relatively inexpensive. Matches up to the rod quite nicely. So that 6-pound is going to get you more bites versus going to the 8, and I'm going to explain something because my next rod up has 8 on it. But this is for my super light stuff, float and fly, Ned rig, weightless wackies, spy baiting, all that super light drop shot. That 6-pound is going to get you way more bites, and the longer the rod and more limber, that longer the rod's going to help you for deep fishing or long casting to pick up line faster. That lighter line, I'm not going to have a tight drag. The lighter line's going to get more bites, and I'm fishing lighter. I want a more limber rod. I see all these rods that are extra fast that guys are fishing this 4 and 6-pound test with, and I'm like, you're crazy, you're just gonna break off. I've very rarely broke off, and I've landed on the finesse stick with 6-pound tests. I had last year, I didn't break the 30-pound mark on wintertime fishing on the finesse stick, but the year before I had 2 30-pound bags on it with light drop shot and really light Ned rigging, and didn't lose any of those fish, didn't break any of those fish off. So yeah, you can fish lighter line, guys. So my next spinning rod in the setup is my number 2, and that's the reaction spin. Okay, that's a very versatile spinning rod, and I'm going to show it to you guys right there. The 7'2", medium power. right there. This is a very common bass style spinning rod. If you're going to start off with a spinning rod, it should be around 7 foot, medium power, fast to moderate fast. And the reason why I'm always going to lean towards moderate fast just means it's going to bend a little farther back. It's going to give you more cushion. Moderate fast makes a rod more versatile, and the majority of the Sticks rods are moderate fast, except one of them, and we'll get into that. And the reason why is you can throw more lures, you can cast them farther, it's more forgiving on low stretch line. We live in 2019 right now. All these rods that were designed 10 and 12 years ago were designed for lines with a ton of stretch. These fluorocarbons, these braids we're using nowadays have very, very low stretch. No one's designing rods for it realistically, so I did. If something has to give, I don't want my line to break, so I designed a little bit more. Instead of all of our rods being fast, it would be more of a moderate fast, so I backed off the taper on everything, which allows you to cast farther, more lures, and at the same time, less give on your line, so you're going to break less fish off. You get better hook sets. You won't see the tear in the roof of those fish's mouth. So that right there, a little stiffer, a little bit shorter. For your slightly heavier plastics, your Senkos, tiny crankbaits, little poppers, shaky heads, dragging a darter worm or something down on their bottom, finesse jigs, and that is 8-pound tactical fluorocarbon. And the reason why I'm using the tactical, it's more of a limp fluorocarbon. It's not like your bait caster fluorocarbon, although I do use it on bait casters, and we'll get into that. I'm using the exact same reel. That's a 3000 Revo X. Once again, I'm not partial to any reel company. I just happen to like the reel, guys, so I bought it. Just like you, they didn't send this to me or anything else. That's that 8-pound. I go slightly heavier on there to where if I know I'm fishing my finesse stick and I'm fishing around timber or something, I'm probably going to want to pick this up, or if I'm throwing a little heavier worm and I want to put a little heavier, stouter EWG hook on there, that's going to work really, really well for me. You can also throw smaller jerk baits on this setup quite well at the same time. So this is really awesome if you're going to get your very first spinning setup and you don't have a spinning setup that's similar to this. That's the hybrid spin. This is the Sticks hybrid spin. I spent so much time on these rods, it's ridiculous, guys. And I'm going to explain something real quick, even before I jump to the third rod in the lineup. When I go fishing, I will generally grab 5 or 6 rods and leave them on the deck. And yeah, I am an owner of this company. Can I have 100 rods on the deck if I want to? Absolutely. That's a luxury I have. I know you guys don't have that. I get to fish almost every single day. I get to fish any day I want to, guys, and I understand you don't have that luxury. So why would I limit my rod selection? And by designing 6 insanely versatile rods, my basis for limiting my rod selection was I was getting tired of having a dedicated drop shot rod, a dedicated jerkbait rod, and then I break it off and that rod starts cluttering the deck. When I know if I design them all with versatility and I go with versatile line weights, I can do way more stuff. So keep that in mind, guys, that I do have 2 sets of sticks at all times, but I have 1 set of sticks on the deck and I have another set of sticks in my rod locker. That's a luxury I can afford. If you guys can't do that, I understand it, and I'm going to give you a solution for that too, by getting 2 additional reels and only having 6 rods. Whether you own Sticks rods or not, you can find your own that you already have. If you can't afford to get Sticks rods, absolutely try to mimic what I'm doing. It's going to help you guys. Okay, the third one in the lineup, and if you'll also notice something, number 3, let me turn that for you. It's probably like inverted and the 3's backwards. You never know how these live videos are going. This rod right here, this is the hybrid stick. This is a 7-foot medium power right there. And this is a half a power up from that spinning rod, but a bait casting version. So if you're going to have 1 bait caster and that's all you can afford, a 7-foot medium to medium heavy power, and I really don't like the medium heavy so much. The medium is much more forgiving. You can cast farther, you can fish it better, and this is also a moderate fast. This is by far the most versatile rod. I went back, I don't even know how many revisions of this rod I did to get it perfect. This rod almost completely broke the bank designing the most versatile bait casting rod ever made. And I will bet anything this is the most versatile bait casting rod on the planet. It's my rod, I designed it. If anybody else put that much time into a rod, they deserve praise too. Someone should come out and tell me. what that rod is, because I'll applaud that guy for breaking the bank as well. But what I have on here, this is also just a Revo X reel. This is a 7 to 1 or a 7.3 to 1. And for bait casting reels, guys, that 7 speed, the 7.3 to 1 or 7 to 1 is very, very versatile. Even if you're cranking, you don't need a slower reel. Just slow down on your cranks. But those 7 speeds are insanely versatile. You can get away with a ton, whether it's frogging, whether it's cranking, whether it's dragging a jig. Those 7 speeds are awesome. Now, what I have is 12-pound fluorocarbon on there. Now, the reason why I have 12-pound is it's very versatile, okay? Now, here's one problem. When you get to topwater, fluorocarbon is not good. Fluorocarbon's dense, it'll sink, okay? To where if you're fishing a lot of topwater and you only have one reel for that setup right there, I'm gonna suggest using copolymer lines, something like P-Line CXX. It's good above and below, has a little bit more stretch. But if you're completely in the mindset that you have to have fluoro, this is where you can do 2 different reels. I have the identical setup right here. I have this blue Cast King reel, and I keep 12-pound CXX on there that floats. You can see I have a popper on there or a little tiny spook. I can do the 2 options. If you cannot, just run a copolymer line or a mono and fish it subsurface and fish it on the surface. Just the same. The 12-pound is very versatile, guys. You can throw jerk baits, you can throw little spooks, you could drag jigs. Super awesome for this. Now, if this was a moderate fast, and if all you guys have, a medium heavy, excuse me. If this was a medium heavy rod, and that's all you guys had, instead of the medium, I'm gonna suggest using like 15-pound fluorocarbon. This is a super buttery taper, which is forgiving for the 12-pound. And 12-pound is gonna get you more bites than the 15-pound. And I know you probably heard that and you're probably thinking that's BS. Like I said, I fish almost every single day. It is not BS. If we fish the identical setups and rotate, and I'm on 12 and you're on 15, I will beat you if we know exactly the same amount of information. We know where they are. That 12-pound will get you more bites. Think about this. If you make a 100-foot cast, the thicker line diameter is going to take the action out. There's more water resistance against your line. Your bait will look unnatural. It'll drag away. It won't sit stable. The fish is more likely to feel it. We all know bass have lateral lines, and they can literally feel and see your line. So keep that in mind. If you're fishing very dirty water, they can't see your line. If you're fishing clear water, they absolutely can see your line. So that's that setup right there. The next one is number 4. This is the reaction stick. And you can see I have a prototype Savage Gear pulse tail shiner on there. These will be available in December or January. I love getting all the toys first. Now the reaction stick's a 7'6", medium heavy, moderate, bending more in the middle. Insanely good for reaction baits, chatter baits, lipless crankbaits, big jerk baits, deep diving crankbaits, square bills, and you can bomb them very far. Now, if you know from my last rod and reel setup, I told you I was fishing 12. Right here on the reaction stick, I fish 15-pound fluorocarbon. Now, the reason for that is this is a medium heavy. The other one was a medium. So medium power, medium heavy power. I know now with 15, I can pull a little bit harder, swing a little bit harder. Smaller glide baits can work great on this as well. So super versatile setups. And the reason why I'm using the 7'6", a lot of people associate length of the rod versus height of the angler. And the reality is that has very little to do with it. Maybe a 7'4" fits you better than a 7'6", but the reality is how it utilizes a lure versus casting length versus how you need to set the hook. That's where length really comes into play. And all these are very ergonomically designed. I had a buddy who was 5'5", test these. I'm 6'6". I move the guides around. I shift the reel handles to make these insanely ergonomic to fit a large variety of lures. This isn't just a crankbait rod. This fishes a ton of categories. I took everything that I travel with and I divided it into 6 categories, and each one of these rods fishes a large category of lures, not just designed for one thing. This isn't a spinnerbait rod. This isn't just a frog rod. So that's that 15-pound fluoro. Great for small jerk baits, paddle tail swim baits, lipless crankbaits, chatterbaits, deep diving crankbaits, square bills. Very versatile. This isn't just a deep diving crankbait rod. That was not my goal. Sticks are utility rods designed to do everything. If you have your favorite jerkbait rod, go ahead. But it's awesome to have a utility set on board. If I break that bait off or want to try a different bait that day, if I'm throwing a jerkbait and I want to throw a chatterbait, boom, that rod is designed to fish that whole category. I no longer have to start digging through my rod locker trying to find something special. Next one in the lineup is the Sticks Surface Stick right there. Take a look. That's a 7'4", medium heavy, and it's leaning slightly towards heavier with 65-pound braid. Now, you say surface stick, you're like 65-pound braid and a moderate fast, and this is a medium heavy with a fast action. This is a fast action, and you need a fast action to walk the dog on lures, guys. That's the only reason that wasn't a moderate fast, and it's a half blank difference in power to give it a little bit more tip to where you can target your cast a lot better at the same time. The reason why it's a 7'4" is I still wanted length, but I still needed accuracy to target skipping under trees, to throwing next to boat docks, whether I'm throwing a spinner bait on this, a frog on this, a spook on this, skipping a jig on this, okay? Now you can say, well, how do you throw a little popper? Well, you notice I said I had that other setup, okay, right there. Now I'm going back to the hybrid cast. The hybrid cast is designed to fish a big variety, and it also works great for smaller topwaters. This is for your medium to bigger size topwaters, or you're skipping or throwing a spinnerbait roughly near the surface. You could throw a jig on this and drag it off the bottom. It is a stronger rod. This is the second strongest in the lineup. Now, the reason why I use 65-pound braid, 65-pound braid is roughly between 12 and 15-pound diameter line. Sits on the reel really well. You can pull hard without it cinching in. You can make long casts. You can pull them out of the roughest stuff possible. I throw over boat docks with frogs a ton. If you guys watch my series, you know I'm an avid skipper. I skip back under everything in the gnarliest stuff. You can see even my 65 is a little bit frayed up right there because I'm going into the worst stuff possible and wrenching them out. Depending on where you live, maybe you could throw 50, but even frog fishing in open water, I have broke off 50 on hook sets. So 65 seems to cast just as well. It's more durable. It lasts longer. I love the 65. This rod right here is fantastic for casting long range. A lot of my frog rods, guys are like, I like 7 foot or a 7'2". I like the 7'4" because I also throw spooks on here, buzz baits on here, wake baits on here, and I like the added range. This is fantastic for frogging as well because you can still target well at 7'4" and you can still cast a long ways, and this thing's got a ton of meat to where you can literally rip them out. And I don't know if you guys notice, but these are insanely light rods. Insanely light, guys. These are very high end, right? Now, we sell them directly online only at sticksfishing.com, stixfishing.com. And the reason for that is if I put them in tackle shops, I have to mark the cost up almost double. They have to make their money. The person who sold it to the tackle shop has to make money. And when someone buys it, the tackle shop needs to make a little bit of money as well. So you have to mark the cost up. No offense to any rod company that's in tackle shops. It's how it's been done for years. But I cut my teeth being an online social media person. So I said, you know what? When I develop this rod company, I'm going to sell directly online. I can keep the cost down, give you guys a superior rod for a low cost. So next one up in the lineup is the Power Stick. Last but not least, you see that sucker right there, the meat. 7'6" heavy, guys, right there, the red one. We'll see that. Boom, number 6. Or number 9, whatever way I'm turning it, but it is number 6. Now, if you're going to notice, yep, clear line, 20-pound fluorocarbon, big glide baits. I throw glide baits on here up to 9 inches. I throw Alabama rigs. I throw big jigs. I also punch on this, but not necessarily with fluorocarbon. Sorry about that. Now, if you look right here, I have that variable. I have 80-pound braid and 1.5 ounce punch setup on a red reel. And I keep that red reel in my rod locker if I don't bring an extra rod. But like I said, I have extra rods in my rod locker, so I keep it set up like that. If you don't want to have an extra rod and you have a setup similar to this, take a separate reel, keep the 80-pound braid on it, and have it ready. You don't need an extra rod. Just switch it out. It may take you a little bit of time, but if you can afford having 2 rods like I do of the same setup, it's a great way to do it. fantastic for punching, fantastic for heavy frogs, fantastic for big swim baits. I throw Huddlestons on here. I throw Savage Gear Pulse Tails on here. 9-inch glide baits, no problem, guys. 20-pound fluorocarbon. Now, this is a heavy rod, but it does have a moderate fast bend, and it is long, so you can make super long casts and you can hit them as hard as you want to wrench them out. The 20-pound fluorocarbon is tough as nails, guys. You can truly wrench on fish with 20-pound fluoro. Then if you want to punch, or if you live in an area where the water's just dirty all the time, fish it with heavy braid all the time. You don't really need fluorocarbon. If you can't see consistently, if the clearest it ever gets is about 3 foot of visibility, fish braid all the way. You'll be fine. If it gets beyond that, then you really need to start using fluorocarbon, like we have to do in California over here. But otherwise, fish your braid, guys. Now this right here, this is another 7, I think this one's a 7.3. Now sometimes on my frog rod I'll fish faster, but you can see across the board, I'm pretty consistent. 7 to 8 speed reels. I like to stay at that consistent speed. Now what that tells me is as I'm grabbing any rod throughout the day, my reel speed, if I noticed I was reeling slower and I was catching them, I'm consistent across the board. If I change my presentation, I know if I was going faster, I'm consistent across the board. The only time I'm going to suggest going with a super fast reel like those 9.3 to 1s and stuff like that is if you're fishing on the surface with a frog, because you can physically see the difference in speed retrieval and you're just trying to get it back to the boat to cast to another spot. Or if you're flipping and pitching, getting it out and flipping it back into the next hole is a great time for a very fast reel. Aside from that, anything subsurface, anything over 7.1, 7.3 is kind of just overkill, guys, and you probably don't need it. So that's the setup that I use. Those are the reels that I use. I designed these rods for doing everything I need to do, guys. This is no beginner setup, although it does work great for beginners. Works fantastic for kayakers. This is just super versatility. And people go, oh yeah, but I need a lot more than 6 rods. Well, oftentimes so do I, but the reality is if you carry 2 extra reels like I do, you only really need the 6 rods. You can switch them if you want to be like have super convenience and have a ton of different lures tied on. You can sure get 2 sets of sticks or 3 sets of sticks, whatever you want to do. I consistently run 2 sets, but I'm generally only working with the 1 set. I have a few buddies who run 2 sets, and I know a few guys that run 3 sets because they like to have, a million different things tied on the deck at all times. I'm going to answer a couple questions for you guys now. Hey, if you do me a favor while you're watching this and thumbs up if you appreciate this, I would greatly appreciate that. It helps YouTube give it out to my subscribers, guys, so thank you. All right, let me take a couple questions. If you have any questions on what I just said, or if you notice that you skipped over something, by all means, ask. I'm more than happy to answer the question. Getting kind of blinded out of the corner of this eye. So hook it up with a thumbs up, guys. So if you don't know, I don't release a ton of videos. This is why I'm doing a live one. YouTube's really scolded my channel on showing my subscribers because I don't post often enough. I've been traveling the country a lot, doing spokesperson gigs for a lot of companies, Savage Gear, Mustad, you guys know probably now, you're familiar. So that's just one of the things. What size HUD can you throw on that rod? I throw up to the 8-inch on the power stick. I don't throw the 10-inch on the power stick. Once you start getting into baits that are close to a pound, it's really a good idea to just have a specialized swim bait rod. That's not, when I design sticks, I wasn't designing a rod solely for doing one thing. Later on, we may come out with like a big bait series for like big stripers, muskie, pike, things like that. But this 6 rods is a utility set to fish all the lures that the majority of us fish. Freakishly large swim baits, in which I consider 9-inch. I do fish on the power stick. Have absolutely no problem fishing them. Yeah, guys, so anyhow, I generally post 2 videos a month, although I am doing a short series called Big Bass Advantage, where it's certain subjects where I think need to be covered that frequently pull off bigger fish consistently. There's going to be a lot of those popping up on the channel. I am going to still keep doing the long adventure episodes. I am going to be doing a lot more comedy stuff. I've been having a blast doing the comedy. If you guys have watched those, the Get the Net and Tip Down, It's fun, man. I love watching them back. I love laughing at myself. As long as I can laugh at my own jokes, I'm doing something right. But I'm going to keep doing it, guys. I'm never going anywhere. Um, so if you subscribe to my channel, make sure to click the bell notification, because I'm finding out that YouTube's showing less than 2% of my actual subscriber base now, which is crappy. It's the only way I can sum that up. So if you guys haven't selected the bell notification, chances are you won't even receive notifications for my new videos. The mailing list will be coming back up at informativefisherman.com. So if you go on there and sign up for the mailing list, you will start receiving everything in your mail again. Hey Nick, love my sticks packs. How do I get a hat? We are working on that for the website. We are going to try to get some new apparel available. I didn't want to give you guys crap. I want you guys to have like high-end pro caps like the same ones I have. So I'm just trying to get the best possible deal. I want you guys to have really nice stuff. Any steelhead or salmon fishing soon? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of salmon fishing coming up here around the corner. They're just starting to come in. We're going to do a lot of striper stuff this fall on the channel too, guys. A lot of big swim baits for stripers, big top water, and a few tricks that I like to use on the California Delta. And then probably as next summer rolls around, I'm going to show summertime river things for big stripers as well. So a lot of fun stuff coming up, guys. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in the middle of the day, guys. I know probably a lot of you guys are at work, so don't get in trouble, but I do appreciate it, man. So once again, guys, if you haven't thumbs up this video, please do me a favor. I don't normally request that, but it definitely helps me out. It helps out others that may have wanted this information. Look, guys, if you can't afford to buy sticks rods, I totally get it. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into these things, making them. Almost bankrupt my family, just keeping it 100% real with you guys, that I wanted to produce the best six rods ever made for being versatile. If you can't afford these rods, find what you have that's similar to my rods and do what I'm doing with the reels and those lines, and you will realize it'll make you much more efficient. The reason why we color-coded everything is it's really easy to find it in your rod locker, laying on your deck. So go get colored tape if you want and separate your rods like that. Even match the sticks colors. It makes it super easy. You'll hear me reference it on shows, guys, just to grab it. My efficiency on the water is huge. And I'll tell you what, there's not a single person watching this that says they wouldn't take 10 extra casts per trip on all the trips they've ever taken in their life if they couldn't. And the reality is, when you're looking for your rod, that generally costs you a couple extra casts. And how many times do you do that throughout a day? How many times do you do that throughout a trip? It's only 1 or 2 casts that gets that freak fish that day, guys. So efficiency on the water is huge. Being able to have setups where you can do everything quick and convenient is huge. So remember that. Make it easy for you guys, whether you buy my rods or not. It would be great if you did. It supports me. It supports my family. We have employees working for this company that you would help support as well. What guides? These are Fuji Selects. These are really good, high-end, durable guides. And they're medium size. They're very similar to micro, but they're one up from that. I don't like super micro. I feel like it's kind of limiting my cast, even though it makes your cast a little bit more precise. I think it's shortening the cast length, so I went with a slightly larger guide on that. They're smaller than what you would normally see. You still get great casting length, you still get good cast control, and it also prevents your rods from tangling up on the deck really easy. And the update on the spinning rods too, we went with a slightly larger size on the new spinning rods too. Oh, how do I get back to that comment? I missed the last comment, man. I'm willing to answer that for you. Sorry. Sun's kind of in the corner of my eye here on the phone, but I'm always willing to help you guys out too. I'm just usually busy, so if you email me, it takes a really long time to hear back. My Instagram, my Facebook, or within the first 24 hours that I post a video, I'm really good about commenting back. So if you guys get on it soon, like I said, select the bell notification. Otherwise, I get caught up on browsing through comments and I'm less productive throughout the day. I've got 3 kids, a wife. I'm a busy dude, man. Taking care of my house, mowing my yards. You know how it goes. Just like you guys, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. All right, guys. I am going to sign out. I'm burning up right here. The sun's cooking me. I'm sweating like a big dude in a buffet line, so I will catch you guys later. Nick, why do bass turn away from Senkos? The reality is, if they're turning away from a Senko, you got their curiosity, you did something right, chances are you just hit them outside of their bite window. So you need to come back either earlier next time or later in the day because you've located them. All right, later, guys. How do I end this live? It's been so long. This is crazy.